In this video, we'll show you how to do straight stitch and back stitch. We're using Happy Serdar cotton and you'll use the yarn and the needle in your pattern. So I'm going to take my cotton and I'm going to take a strand. You don't want to cut this too long because it becomes easily knotted, so we snip. We're going to use our darning needle. We're going to use a little bit of thread to help us thread our needle. So you're going to fold your thread in half and put it through the eye. And this gives us a bigger loop to then thread our cotton through. So we're going to go through, pull through, and then pull that thread to thread up our needle. We're then going to want to start off by doing a small knot in the end. So you want to pinch your thread, wrap around your finger, and then push that end through and pull that securely to make a knot in the end. We're going to attach this to the back of our work. So we're going to take our work, we're going to sew through the back of a stitch, pull through, and then to secure, so when we pull we don't pull it through the front, we take our needle and we split the yarn and just sew under the knot. Could sometimes be a bit fiddly, so you can hold that separate. Splitting the yarn, creating a little loop. And when we pull securely, this means that we're not going to end up pulling our thread through. So we're going to start off with running stitch. And to do our straight stitch, we're going to come out. And this is our stitch that we work in a straight line. And to determine how long your stitch is, we're going to go over the front. And then we're going to go underneath, working under and over the fabric. I'm going to pull. Then we're going to work over the top and then go under and then back up through. And this is a straight stitch, also known as a running stitch. You can change how long your stitch is by deciding to do longer on the front, and you might then do shorter on the back. Shorter on the front. So you can decide the pace that your stitch comes along, up through the front. But the big thing when you're doing straight stitch is you don't want to pull too tight, because if you pull too tight, this can ruche up your work. So make sure that you pull your thread through neatly, but have even tension in your thread. When you're finished with your straight stitch, you want to end on the reverse of your work. We're going to turn over, and to fasten off, we're going to go through the back of a stitch, next to where we've come out, pull your thread through to create a loop. Don't worry if you get a bit of a knot, just pull it a bit looser, pull lightly, and then how we're going to secure is we're going to take our needle and we're going to go once through that loop, twice through that loop, and then 3 times through that loop. If you place your thumb where you've had your thread held out and pinch tightly, this means that when you pull your thread, it won't pull your running stitch, but will be able to pull and create a tighter knot. And this helps finish your work off. I always like to do one more stitch through the back before snipping off to secure. Then you can snip quite closely and your yarn is secure. I'm now going to show you how to do back stitch. I'm going to thread up the same, so I've still got my cotton through my needle, but I'm going to tie a new knot at the end. And I'm going to join in the back in the same method, so doing a little loop through the back of the stitch, coming through, splitting that thread and pulling through to secure. I'm going to come through to the front and then we're going to work back stitch. Back stitch, you can see with straight stitch, you get breaks in your line. Backstitch we use to get a consistent through line. So we're going to start off by taking our yarn, and we're starting from the front. I'm going to come slightly behind, and then this point where I first come up actually becomes the middle point of my stitch. So I've come behind and I'm going to go under the fabric and out through the other side the same distance as I came back and pull through. I'm now going to take my needle and I'm going to go back into that first space where I came out before and pull through, and then come up from the back to the front in the same distance on the other side. Then going to work backwards into the same space that that last stitch came out of, come under, and then we want to come up the other side the same distance. And we're going to come over, up, and then back through that same space. You can see with backstitch that we get a consistent line, and on the front it looks like a single straight line, and if we turn over you can see your thread overlaps, creating a thicker line. And that's how we complete backstitch. Those are both our straight stitch and our backstitch. You want to practice these until you're confident, and then head to sirdar.com for more stitches, beginner kits, patterns and yarn.